All right, it's time to pick asparagus berries. As you can see right there, there's a patch of asparagus. We get a fair bit of asparagus out of this patch, but when you're picking the berries, these berries all have seeds in them. You want to make sure you get the red ones. Just pick them off. If you follow our channel at all, you've seen a video there not too terrible long ago. I showed you these berries. They're not edible to people either. But there's some of them will have up to, I've had them up to 5 seeds in them berries already. And you just put them in a, I don't know, this is a yogurt cup. So just put them in a yogurt cup or whatever you want to put them in. Just grab them and peel them off. Peel them off like that. And then here shortly I'll show you how to harvest the seeds out of them. It's pretty easy to do, so I'm gonna go through and pick the berries. I'll come back to you here shortly. All right, so when you're doing it, you gotta make sure they're red. These ones are still green. They're not fully ripe yet. You can't. If you harvested these, they probably wouldn't grow. I mean, you might get lucky and get some of them to grow, but they wouldn't grow like the red ones will. So you gotta make sure you get ripe red ones when you're picking for seed. Yeah, so they are pretty berries, but they got to be riper than red. All right, so if you're going to when you harvest your berries, you need to, if you're not going to harvest the seeds out of them right away, you need to put them in something where they lay out and not on top of one another. Because they'll mold, they're still wet, they're sticky, they need a little bit of airflow. Not a lot, but a little bit. And each one of these berries has seeds in them, multiple seeds. I've never had one that only had one seed. Usually they have between 3 and 6. That one there has 5. Put it in the yogurt container. Let me bust another one open for you. And also too, they need to be cold stratified for 2.5 months. That one there's only got 3 seeds in that one. See how sticky they are? They stick to you. But we don't harvest the berries like that anyways, but they need to be cold stratified for 2.5 months before they'll germinate. These I'm just gonna, once I process these, they'll be planted right away, so they'll get stratified over the winter like they would in nature. The only difference is they won't be in this shells. They'll just be in the soil. So, to give me a second, I'll set the camera up and I'll show you how we process the seeds. All right, you might be wondering what the blender's for. The blender is so I can put these berries in out of this box. I'll just put them in there. Whoop. They're rolling all over the place. I'll just pick them up, put them in. Don't want to make a mess. More so than I'm already going to make. And I'd like to have about 250 to 300 seeds. At least 200. I don't really care if I get any more than that, but I'd like to have a lot of asparagus down there. It'll take 3 or 4 years for it to be enough down there to the plants and roots to be old enough and mature enough to actually get anything out of. But, you just got to put them in the blender. You don't got to do this way. This is the easiest way I found to do it. If you find an easier way, let me know, please. You can process blueberries the same way. You can get seeds out of blueberries and grow them from that too. But asparagus seeds are a lot bigger. Then just put a little water in there. Pretty much half full or whatever. And put the lid on and pause it. And if you look in there, you can see the berry or the seeds is already coming out of the berries. You don't want to blend them up too much. You'll have nothing but a mushy mess. But you basically want to bust open the husk on the berry to get the seeds out. And that's probably all the longer you need to pulse it. Really hit them a couple times. You probably won't need to pulse it any more than that. Actually, the seeds that was in there, I'm gonna put in here too. That way they get more shot. They're sticky. So when you have this to this point, you can see all the seeds settled. The seeds in there, they won't. Good seeds won't float. Only bad seeds will float. Good seeds will sink. So what you do is you just take this and actually you pour off. Try to get the sludge out of it. So I'm going to take you outside and show you how we pour it out. So here's what it's blended inside the greenhouse right here. I'm going to put a little more water in it. I'm going to let that settle for a couple seconds. If you watch, the seeds are settling. The seeds settle to the bottom pretty easily. There's a couple seeds up top. I don't know if you can see those in the camera or not, but they're floating. Them seeds right there probably aren't any good. They probably wouldn't germinate anyways. The ones down here should germinate. So then what you do is you very carefully just pour it out. You can do it wherever you want to. I'm just make sure you don't try to keep the seeds in the pitcher. All you're doing is dropping the pulp out right there. When you pour it out like that, so you can see the seeds, they're all in the bottom. There's a few coming out with it. Most of them that's coming out with it's not no good anyways. They would probably never ever germinate. That's it. Makes a mess, doesn't it? So when you get down to there, just fill it back up with water again. So I'm basically trying to get the seeds out of the way of the pulp. I'm just pouring. There's a few seeds coming out with, but a couple seeds here and there ain't gonna hurt nothing. What you could do if you wanted to do this, you could pour these out while you're gonna plant the asparagus seed, or in your asparagus patch, because then all this nutrients that's in this water and the syrup and them berries, that all came from the asparagus. So that's what your asparagus would need to grow. So that would have exactly the nutrients that your asparagus would need. I'm just going to scoop some out. See all the seeds in the bottom? There's still some berry stuff down in there too, but I'm going to pour these in another container. Just trying to get all the seeds out of the bottom of this one. Most of those seeds would be good, because there's a couple that are floating on top. See the ones that are on top floating? They probably wouldn't germinate. Most, and that's same with any seed, not just asparagus. Pretty much any seed that floats is no good when you're sorting your seeds out. So if they come out when you're pouring like this, it doesn't make any difference. Trying to stir it up so the seeds settle in the pulp and float. That's all I'm doing there. And it's pretty much getting to the pulp. There ain't a whole lot of pulp left in there. You can see it's very little coming out of it anymore. I'm gonna reach my hand back in there and get some more pulp. See how it separates? There's still some seeds in there. Them seeds there, I'm gonna let them go. There's actually some of those berries never opened up either, I can see. I'll probably scoop them up when I'm done. I'm sure there's more than enough seed in there for what I need. It's already still in here, so the couple that I didn't get, it's not that big a deal. That's all there is to it. Just keep working it like that till you get it cleaned out, and then when you get it cleaned out, then just put it on something to dry for a couple days. Right now I'm gonna be more careful because the seeds that's in there now, the ones that's left is probably pretty good seed. So now you want to be careful when you're doing it. Hope there was one fell. All right, I'm gonna work this for a little while and I'll come back and show you the end result. So if you have a pan, some aluminum pan or colander or whatever, I just had an old aluminum pan. I just poked enough holes in it so the water would drain out, and pretty much got all the seeds clean. There's still some pulp in there, but I'm not selling any of them. They're for us, so I'm not gonna worry too much. If I was gonna sell them, I'd take time to clean them better. But you want to make sure you get all the juice rinsed off of them. So just run some water in there, then stir it around a little bit. The colander with small holes would work good too if you're doing this. The asparagus seeds they're fairly decent sized seeds. They're not little. They're pretty big. And I have an earthway seeder that's got a asparagus plate for it. So I'm going to put 2 rows in whenever I plant, but that won't be till these dry out good. So I know they're getting clean and they're dry. But they'll be within the next week, so you'll see that video come out. It'll show me planting these. I'll be planting these and making the bed, and I'll probably put a cover crop on that bed yet this fall. That'll be next week. I'm not sure what day. Probably it might be tomorrow. I'm not sure for sure yet. But that's pretty much all there is to it. And there's a lot of seeds there. Pretty easy to clean, but there's a lot there. Just let them dry out for a couple days. Till they're dry, just keep stirring them every little while. Stir them. I'm gonna let these out in the greenhouse, so I know there's a lot of good air circulation. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So done. I'm gonna go in the house, and some of the garlic that we had left over from planting yesterday, we're going to mince some garlic, and we'll show you how we do that too. So that's another good way to store your garlic. So you'll see it in a few seconds. Okay, so you've seen us getting the berries for the asparagus ready. So now we're going to go through and show you how to mince garlic, store it in the fridge, keep it preserved it'll keep for probably years really. The only thing you need is garlic. And we have lots of garlic left over from yesterday when we was planting. Garlic and olive oil. And the reason we use olive oil is for 2 reasons. One, we use olive oil for everything, but 2, the main reason to use olive oil in that is because bacteria and germs don't grow in olive oil for whatever reason. I don't know. You can actually use olive oil, cold pressed extra virgin olive oil, to clean wounds out, and it works really good for that. So there's lots of uses for olive oil, but that's a different time. So that's why we use olive oils, because bacteria and germs don't grow in olive oil, and I don't want this garlic spoiling. Not that it would. We eat it fast enough that it wouldn't go to waste. But here I'm going to set you down and show you how we go through doing it. So a lot of this garlic that we had yesterday, the paper come off of it. So it's easy to get the paper off the rest of it. Then just put it in a food processor. So I want to go through and clean this bowl out and put all this in a food processor. And then I'll show you when I get to that point, then I'm gonna cut that end off. I don't want the roots in there. Also too, for all of you that really don't know how to use fresh garlic, the reason I didn't use this bulb right here is because it's little. Nothing wrong with it, it's just small. So if you ever want to use this and you never really knew how to clean them good, the best way to clean garlic is to lay it down flat on your cutting board, take your knife and hit it like that. They pop right out. When you do that, that garlic opens right up. Clean. Clean and done. And cut the little bit of root off. Alright, so I'm gonna go through and clean this up and I'll get back to you in a second. Alright, so I got about half the garlic cleaned, and it's in the food processor. So I'm going to mince it up and put it in a jar while the wife keeps cleaning garlic. So that should be about all you want. Right there should be about right. Yeah. You could probably go a little finer if you wanted to, but it's good like it is. So I'm gonna scoop it into the jar and show you how we put oil on it. All right, so I got my jar and my garlic. So just spoon it out of here and put it in there. Also, too, garlic is good for you. It's good for your health. It's good for your immune system. So, a little bit of garlic every day helps with your immune system, helps with your gut health. That's loud in there, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's good for you. So, make sure you take garlic. Fresh garlic is better. We grow everything here organically, so we know there's no pesticides or herbicides or anything else in this garlic. And no, there's no GMO garlic. There is no such thing. So anybody's going to say anything about it, they don't even make GMO garlic. So you just scoop it in there like this, and that's probably about half of what we actually have. Let me move that back out of the road so you can see it. And then I'll put a little bit of olive oil in it. This is extra virgin olive oil. It's not the cold press like I talked about earlier, but it's still good enough. Actually, it is cold press. Sorry,
that's all I know.
It is first cold press. So you just put a little bit in. Then you got to stir it so every bit of it gets in the oil. Let me get a knife to stick down in the jar. You gotta make sure it's all coated. The oil's disappeared, so put a little more in. And the oil won't hurt it, because the oil, everybody fries in oil anyway, so. And you could use other oil. You could use vegetable oil if you wanted to, or anything else, but like I said earlier, we use olive oil on anything, and because bacteria don't grow in olive oil, so this will keep forever. I don't know exactly how long it'd keep in the fridge like that, but it'd keep for a long time. Then when you need some, when you're getting ready to cook, you can just take your spoon in the jar and pull out and throw it in your skillet. Or whatever, you're just put it in your mouth and eat it if you want to. That's a little bit much, but a little garlic every day is good for you, so keep that in mind. We're going to finish up, and I'll get back to you in a minute. All right, I'm back. I'm going to mince this up and put it in there and finish this up. Explain a couple things in the process. Just so you all know, on this, I just used low. I didn't use the high, just low. But I'm sure this one would work. Yeah, I did fine, so it doesn't matter, I guess. It smells good. I wish you could smell that, because that smells delicious. Real good. I don't know if, for those of you that never mess with fresh garlic, when you're processing it, it's extremely sticky. Move this back so you can see where I'm at with it. Yeah, it's very sticky. One thing we just figured out, actually my wife did, that if you put a little bit of that olive oil on your fingers, then it won't stick to your fingers quite as much, which is a pretty good trick she figured out. Pretty smart woman sometimes. Don't tell her I said that. That'll be our little secret. She's out taking compost out right now. She ain't hearing me, so. For all you that's trying to figure out what this jar is, it's Morgan Digger's hazelnut rum. It's delicious. I like mixing this with Mountain Dew. It's pretty good stuff. You can buy it about anywhere. So like I said earlier, you just fill it up, put a little bit of oil in it. The bottom half, you can see the oil right there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not, but it's in there. So I'll just pour a little more in. And stir it around. You gotta make sure you stir it up good because you want all the garlic in the oil. Put a little more in. This same kind of olive oil we always use. I don't know. It's what we always use. Everybody's different. Everybody likes what they like. But anyway, that's all there is to it. Storing it. And when you're done, you want to make sure after you get all the olive oil in there and mixed up good, you actually want this kind of submerged a little bit. It's going to take a little bit more than what I got in there. Give it just a little bit more. It'll take a fair bit of olive oil, but man, this stuff's good. That should do it. Yep, that right there's fine. If you got a little too much in there, it ain't no big deal. So that'll work right there like that. And then grab the lid. Not sure where the lid is. Anyway, I gotta find the lid for it. Oh, I found it over here. Right there's the lid. And the lid, it's just a canning lid. The lid that I got for it is just a canning lid. It's just a two-piece. It's a used one. It's not new. But for what it's going to do, it's going to work fine. And just put it in the fridge. Right on the lid, minced garlic, or you'll know what it is by the looks of it. So anyway, that's another good way to store garlic. I had a video out a few weeks ago, and I'll put a link to it below on this, on storing garlic. So that's how we do. So until we meet again, as always, take care and God bless.